G'day guys, welcome to your first welcome lesson to Visual Studio. Hopefully you've been able to install it without too many issues right now. Okay, once you've clicked on the software, it's going to ask you a few questions. Okay, so the first time you access this program, it's going to ask you for a sign in. This can be your Department of Education login. It just needs to be your Office 365 account. So I'm going to go ahead and log in using my email address right now. Remember that your email address is going to be ending at education.nsw.gov.au. Okay, it'll take you to your portal, your DOE login page from there. From that point, it should be able to create an account for you, okay, because they are provisioned for education students. Now, if you remember that when you're using Visual Studio, you do have the community version, which means that you are only using it for educational purposes only. Okay, so essentially that means that if you were to use Visual Studio to create something, you cannot publish that and make it available, and you definitely cannot publish it and make money from it. Okay, so it needs to be used purely with the education license only, which means it's for the purposes of learning how to use the software. Okay, so what we want to do is the first time setup, we're just going to create a new project. So you click on the new create new project button. It'll ask you sort of what sort of types of programs are you going to be likely to making. Okay, if you see it load up as white and then you probably just see mine change to black, that's because I've got the night setting usually turned on. I'll show you how to do that in a little while. Okay, so what we want is we want this console app development. Okay, but you'll also see there's a whole bunch of other stuff as well. Okay, so if I just scroll down, I'm looking for, oops, we want all languages, we want C#, and we want Windows Forms app. Okay, Windows Forms app. So what that means is you're going to be creating a C# program in the .NET framework that creates it for the Windows package. Okay, so the Microsoft Windows. Okay, and a form is something that you use to actually create an interface. So once you clicked on that, your Windows Forms app, and you've got C# there, you can go ahead and click next. It's going to ask you what type of program do you want to do. We'll just do a simple thing called demo introduction. Okay. You can change the location of these Visual Studio packages when they're installed. I'm going to leave mine where it is for now, but as long as you know where they're going to be kept, that's an important step for you. I'm going to go ahead and click Create now, and it's going to start opening up Visual Studio 2019 with all of the different interface elements that you're going to have to use. So while this is being created, I will give you a heads up, there are a lot of different applications, a lot of different windows, a lot of different toolbars, whole bunch of stuff that's going to appear on this screen that you're going to need to know how to use. Okay, I'm just going to drag mine back up here again so you guys can see it. Okay. Okay, might just move that there so I'm not in the way of you guys right now. So you can probably see straight away that I've got a form already there. Okay, this is going to look exactly like a regular Windows form. When you click play, it'll load up that program just like it would for the regular user. Okay, obviously what's going to happen now is going to load up a program that won't do anything. Okay, hopefully it will just stay out of our way for the time being. You can see at the bottom there we've got build started. It does actually take some time depending on if you've got a lot of software running in the background. Okay, so you can see this one here. This is my Windows form. Obviously there was nothing on it right now, so the only way I can close that is to click on this X, or I can press stop compiling or stop debugging at the top. So you've got play and stop to actually test your execution code. All right, on the side, we've got our toolbox. I'm going to open my toolbox and I'm going to pin my toolbox so that I can see everything that I need to have. Okay. And I'm going to show you on the right hand side, I've got my properties window as well. I'm using the toolbox to if I click up on the view window, you will see a lot of additional features that we're going to be using. Okay, you can see that toolbox if you somehow accidentally close it and you don't know where it's gone anymore. So make sure you've got that toolbox open at all times. Okay, on the right hand side, there is your Solution Explorer. Okay, this is where all of your program is actually happening. Okay, the one that we're using right now is called the form. This is what this actual screen looks like just here. So this one where it's got form 1, that's what's being referred to there in your form window. So now that my toolbox is loaded, you can see I've got all these different things here. I'm just going to go ahead and click all Windows Forms, and you can see that I've got a whole bunch of different elements from a regular Windows user interface that I can simply drag and drop onto my form. Okay, I can make the IDs bigger, smaller, however I want to do it. I can click on buttons, I can add labels, okay, so that I've got a whole bunch of different stuff available to me. Okay, the most common things you're going to choose are buttons, labels, scroll bars, picture boxes, text boxes, and so forth. But the most important part about it is that whenever you click on a label, you'll notice down here that my properties window changes. So anytime I click on the form, I've now got the properties for that form. If I click on my button, I've now got the properties for that button. Okay, if I click on my label, I've now got the properties for that label. And when you're interacting with the code, you are actually changing the code by referencing the various properties. So if I, for instance, click on my button right now, you'll see if I can scroll down, I'll just change the font a little bit, for example. I might make it a slightly bigger font and I'll make it bold so we can see it. Notice as well, instead of the word button 1, if you click on text, just go up here somewhere. Oh, sorry, one thing I usually do is I usually sort it by alphabetical so that we always know which things we've got. Okay, if I click on text, you'll see it says button 1. Okay, I'm going to click, let's say, exit. So now what happens is that button should actually just say exit. Okay, now that's the name, that's the text that appears on the button. Okay, but what we actually want sometimes is we need to name the button something specific. So if I scroll right back to the top of my property there, you'll see it's got button 1. Okay, we want to name it. So I made the button my exit button. Okay, when I click on BTN, when I click on that exit button, it should close my program, but I want to actually reference it by calling it BTN exit. So I'm going to hit enter now. Now what happens when I double click on that button is it's going to start to take me to that code. You can see that I've got private void BTN exit. I'll just make that code a little bit bigger right now so you guys can see it a bit better. Okay, so I've got private void BTN exit. Okay, and it's got a whole bunch of other things there. Now we'll cover more of these in more detail as we do the actual tutorials. Okay, but essentially now I can switch back between my code and my user interface. Okay, so please have a look around, experiment with what you can add and what you can't add. Try changing some of the design of the layout. Try changing something so you've got a heading for the form. Try change it so that you've got a heading for a label, a heading for a button. Add in some horizontal scroll bars and text boxes. Okay, but try to just work on getting the user interface and how it works through your mindset so you're prepared to be able to build our first application. Okay, thanks guys.